Hi, welcome back to Shank's channel. Today I'm going to walk you through a simple web app deployment, however, using the services like Docker, ECR, ALB, and ECS. You must be thinking why EC2 is there under Docker. So this is nothing but to have the Docker installation in place. So we are going to spin up one EC2 instance, but for my video, I have already done it. And post that EC2 instance launch, what you have to do is you have to proceed with the steps to install Docker and along with some more commands to it. So these are the commands. I'm not going to do it everything again. So, but I can explain what I did. Okay, I did the command sudo yum update -y and curl to have the Docker installation script, and then I've installed Docker, right? So, and then we started it by using systemctl start Docker. And since before I go ahead and work with Docker, I created a project called project, the name itself. And then within the project, I have created new files with some content in it. So Docker file has a set of instructions, and index or HTML has the configuration related stuff. And then I just checked by doing the ls and build the Docker image by with the name of Docker hyphen image. And then I checked Docker images and put it in the container by using Docker run, and hyphen name a Docker container is the container name, and within that container you have the Docker image called Docker hyphen image. And then by we just checked it by using command Docker ps, and that gave the list of uh, Docker containers. So I already have one in place, and once you are done with these steps, you have to validate by copying the instances public IP, because I'm doing it everything on like my account associated with Shankers. And then I can try that on web browser. I have Let me copy this and open it. You would see what I have. So this is what I have built. Now I have to do this deployment using ECR, load balancer, and ECS. So how you can do that? Let's go ahead. I'll keep this open because it is you know uh, able to browse it on public IP associated with the EC2 instance. Now let's move on to some interesting stuff. ECR. Let me create one repository here. Let's should be the private one here, and my repository name would be demo app deployment. I will keep the change settings as default. Create a repository. Just a second. So the repository is created. Now, if I go into this repository, I don't have anything at this point. So I'll have to run this, okay? And I will get error for sure. And I just wanted to show you the error before I fix this, so you are aware of how these things work. So before I run that command, I'll have to go into root and the project. If you remember, we created one directory. So here we already have two files, right? We already have containers, right, running. So the command that I am supposed to run is this. I will get the error for sure because I don't have this EC2 access on ECR. So how would I deploy or push the content to ECR when EC2 doesn't have access to it, right? So to set up that access, we'll move on to next tab, IAM role. I'll create one role and I'll choose EC2 because I have to attach this role to the EC2. And I will not customize it for now. I will say let's give full permission, administrator access. You can choose ECR related permissions. You can customize it. Demo role for ECR. Okay, and I will just say create role. Role is created. Let's view the role. It says demo role for ECR. Let's go to EC2 instance and attach this role. security, modify IAM role, and here we have demo role for CS. Now if I go back to same terminal and run this again, I'll get login succeeded. You see this? All right. Now let's move on to the next step. Next step is on ECR. Yeah. So I'll keep this here because this part is done. So next command was to Docker build, but we already have the Docker build run in the past, right? We ran this command Docker build with the image name Docker. This is this. So we'll tag this image with the very next command we have Docker tag. So we'll skip that build command. We'll tag this, and here our Docker image name is Docker hyphen image with the latest tag. And this is the ECR repository and the tag. So it would show in the repository like this only. So I hit run, it's tagged. Now I will run the final command, that is to push the Docker image to ECR repository. So it's getting pushed. Let's wait for a while. Perfect, it's done. Okay, now I'll close this window, I'll refresh it, and now we have the latest uh, image with the tag latest, and we'll now jump on to ECR cluster configuration. But we may have to configure load balancer. It's not the any kind of prerequisite, but you may need it when you configure ECS cluster services. So I should have this handy. I'm just going step by step just to make sure you are very much familiar with. You become very much familiar with the process. So I'll create a new load balancer here. It should be nothing but the application load balancer. Load balancer name should be demo ALB for web app. Okay. Now I'll say internet facing. You can like configure it on your own as per the requirement. If it has to be private, then within the it has to be internal. But since I'm working it for to make it accessible public, so I'll get public. We don't have the target group. Let's create a target group, and we'll choose the IP address here. Before it should reflect later on the container IP. I will not register any instances. That's the reason I'm not choosing instances. So although I'm creating target group, but this target group would not have the register targets at this point, right? So the reason I'll let you know soon. Demo target group for web app. Okay, and I will say choose the default settings. I'll say go ahead and check next. It's asking me for the IP, and like I said, I don't have any register targets at this point. I'm not going to do anything because I would let my ECS add the target automatically. I have created target group. I will go back to ALB configuration where we left. I refreshed it, select what we have just created, and default settings. I'll say create load balancer. Okay, it's also created. So let me close this target group tab. So we have one EC2 instance where we had Docker, and using that Docker image, I pushed it on ECR, right? Using that EC2 instance, I built the Docker image and pushed it to ECR. Now EC2 role is done. ECR is there now. We'll use this ECR repository in in an ECS configuration, and where we would do it. Let's move on to ECS cluster configuration now. Okay, so before we spin up cluster, let's go ahead and do some configuration first. Task definition, create a task definition. Let's do it for like this. I've created multiple times, so just to you know teach one of my colleagues and family friends. So I'm choosing the same name, so just to tease them separately. They asked for the help, so I had to. All right, so I will choose create new role. We don't have the role defined, so it will automatically create a new role to execute the ECS task. I will scroll down and say WordPress, let's say demo image for demo, let's see. And now it's asking for the image URI, where we would get it from. In If we click this ECR, this is under this repository, we have the URI. Okay, I will say this with the tag. Now it's asking for the container name. It's just a name. You can name anything. And since we are making it listening to 80 on 80, so it is running on 80. I will skip this for now because I don't want any log to be created for now. So let's keep the things as default. I'll say let's create the task definition using that ECR image. Task definition is created, and now using this task definition, I'll go ahead and create new cluster and followed by the service demo cluster for web app, and I would choose Fargate. See, in the task definition, I chose Fargate here as well. I am choosing Fargate because to have the cost optimization. And the reason why I did not choose EC2 instance, if you remember, we did not have the target registered, and the reason is because we have to have this deployment happen using serverless feature. Okay, so I have created a cluster. It's now getting created. If you would like to see how it's getting created, you can see cloud formation stack. See, it's create in progress, right? Resource creation initiated, and now it's completed. So it should have here, yeah. And now important thing and the last thing that you should be aware of is to create a service to allow to deploy app using whatever configuration we have done in task definition. And task definition is fetching the Docker image from the ECR repository. We have configured it earlier, right? So we'll choose application type service family, what we have created, task definition family. Division is 5 because, like I said, I've been doing multiple deployments, and since this is something I'm doing it from scratch to just make you familiar with how it works. So this is the fifth time I'm doing it. Service name is like web app by Shankar. Let's name it like this. Desired tasks. You can have two tasks. Like let's see if we put two tasks here, what it would do. Now we have load balancing option as well. So this is what I'm going to make you familiar with. Already we have done this set kind of setup earlier, but we did not use Docker image anywhere in my last video of ECS. And this would cover the remaining part, how it works with the Docker. Let's say 5, and here it is asking for the listener. So I have already have the listener in place. I have created in ALB and target groups. I already have the target group, existing ones, right? Here I did not define any register targets because ECS would spin up the moment I click create. The deployment would start happening. Okay, see web app chunks. It's like application name, service name, and this deployment is in progress. Again, if you like to see this, just click view in cloud formation. I close other tabs. So now it's create in progress. And since we have chosen the desired task as 2, so I'll show you what is it doing. Let me refresh the service. Okay. So if you see deployment task 2, 0 out of 2 tasks is running. So it's like in progress. And if you go in task, 2 tasks are being now initiated. It's now trying to activate it. So in enterprise level, whenever we talk about high availability, we generally choose more than one, such task or like EC2 instance to maintain the high availability in case of failover. So I think one of them is completed, and two I think both are completed, but the deployment is still says in progress. now I just refreshed it, it says completed. Task, if I refresh, it says running. Great. Now, if I go to this service and come here in under configuration and networking, and let's try to open this ALB, and I'll show you what I was trying to. If you remember the page, it is opening, getting open, or allowing us to open it on this IP, an HTTP like 80 port, and now I have deployed it using ECS and ALB. Let's see what it says. All right. So if you see the magic, what we have done is we made it possible. We did everything on EC2, and it was, you know, able to browse it on this IP. However, the same deployment we have done uh, to ECS with the integration of ALB, it is also allowing us to do such stuff. So why we choose ECS is to not repeat every other thing multiple times. We just come here if any changes required in between in the existing setup. What you do is you just do here, come here in the task definition, come here and create the new. I'm sorry, come here and create the new revision actually. Okay, so if we select this, if I create new revision, I have the option to modify and deploy the service again to have the latest configuration that we recently had a change in. So maybe any version upgrade or anything that you have done, we just simply create, do the division ECR, push it on the ECR. ECR already is integrated here, and just create a new revision with the latest version uh, for the upgraded or for the new application configuration, and then deploy it again using the service like we did under ECS container. So that's how it works, and that's a magic of ECS. And we have done the containerization here. We did not use the ECS deployment with EC2 instances. We chose Fargate. So if you now go back to ALB, let's say, and if I go to this target group again, if you remember, we did not register any targets, but now we have two targets because we chose the desired task as two. So this is now in place. So if I do any change and deploy it again, it will again regenerate the task, and it would come here and automatically by default register new targets with different new IPs. That's the reason I have chosen the IP as a target type in the target group, right? This is what I'm referring here. All right. I wish you good luck. You do it on your own. And I hope you enjoyed this learning. Thanks for watching.